Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 109. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I'm joined as always by Chris Chapman of Fox Sports Las Vegas and the Vegas Golden Knights pre- and post-game show. This episode, like all the others, is brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor at lasvegasadvisor.com, by my good friend Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net, and by Joe Riccio and Boris at the Marathon Law Group, marathonlawgroup.com. Chap, we've got a lot to cover, and we don't have a lot of time to cover because you're all dolled up and ready for a TV appearance later this morning.
Well, I wouldn't say dolled up. I mean, I won't be wearing a hockey jersey when I do my television. I have my suit in the car, but
all right.
Yeah.
Well, so
I did shave, so no neck beard today.
Well, yeah. I'd like to take credit for that.
Yeah. Well, in honor of Connor Hellebuck winning a Game 7.
He didn't win a Game 7. He just didn't lose the Game 7. But we're going to go over the picks from the last round, but we've got an agenda today, so let's get right after it. The Golden Knights eliminated the pesky Minnesota Wild in 6 games. It's pretty easy to me. The analysis, I mean, we can talk about it fairly in depth, but the series turned on one thing, and it had nothing to do with anything on the ice. Bruce Cassidy outcoached John Hines. He made the switch to Carlson, Stone, Eichel, shut down Kaprizov and Boldy, limited him to 1 power play point in Game 6 and 7.
No 7. Game 5 and 6.
5 and 6, yeah. And with that, Marc-Andre Fleury is officially retired. But listen, we talked about in 108, we were guilty of sort of underestimating the Wild. The one thing we've never underestimated is Bruce Cassidy.
Yeah.
And if you want to put it all into a cute, tiny little bow and tie it, he outsmarted them. They didn't have the answer. Game over, series over, Vegas Golden Knights move on.
Well, I think no bigger point to make as far as the coaching mismatch here was Game 4 in Minnesota. There was a potential goalie interference that Bruce Cassidy chose not to challenge in the third period. It would have put the Wild probably on a power play because I don't think he would have won that challenge. And the next game, John Hines challenges for goalie interference on something. I didn't listen to what he had to say after that game. I don't know what he saw. I don't know if the Minnesota media pressed him on that, why he challenged it. I would imagine someone asked him, but it doesn't matter. You know, I had the conversation with someone before the playoffs started when we knew the matchups that there was a distinct advantage the Golden Knights had against the Minnesota Wild as opposed to the St. Louis Blues because of the guy behind the bench. And I think it's clear to me that Jim Montgomery is a superior coach than John Hines. In fact, I would go as far to say as I think the Minnesota Wild are being held back by John Hines because that's a really good hockey team. They've got some really good players, guys that we didn't even talk about going into the series. I mean, Ryan Hartman's a pain in the ass, but he's a good hockey player. I think Matt Boldy, obviously, we knew he was good, but they have another young defenseman in Brock Faber who's really good. Eriksson Ek, maybe one of the more underrated players in the league. That's a really good team. And I think that's a team that kind of like the Golden Knights were a few years ago. If they had a guy behind the bench who knew how to pull the strings the way Bruce Cassidy does with the Golden Knights, we might be talking about a different outcome in this series. But I think at the end of the day, the better team won, the team that is more complete from top to bottom. I don't think Aiden Hill outshined Gustafsson in the series, but I think he was better. I think it was close, but I think he was better. He made the big saves when he needed to, and Gustafsson didn't.
But he still needs to be better.
He does need to be better. He is a good goalie. He's not an elite goalie. And Aiden Hill is in that level between good and elite. He's like in that next level after guys like Bobrovsky and guys like Vasilevsky, Shesterkin. Like, he's not in that conversation. But he's in the very good conversation. Gustafsson is still in the good conversation. And I think he's got to be better. I think he can be better. I mean, he's a young guy. We'll see what they do in the offseason. I don't really care because this isn't a Wild podcast, but I think that's a really good hockey team. And I think we were all guilty of maybe, I don't think the team was.
No,
but
we talked about that.
Us and the media and the fans.
Not in the room.
I think we looked at the record. We looked at the way they played down the stretch. We looked at where they finished in the division, and we just assumed that they weren't that good of a hockey team. And the reality is they are a really good hockey team. And I think the Golden Knights are better off for having had to play a team like that in round one because it kind of woke them up a little bit, and they will be fully dialed in for the next series.
I agree with that. I mean, I believe that certainly sharpened them up. It's really easy. We talked about it. I don't know if we talked about it in an episode. We talked about it for sure in the press box. It comes down to if both teams get their best out of every single player in their lineup, the Golden Knights are going to win.
Yeah.
Right? And there's no truer example of that probably than talking to Jack Eichel after Game 3. Right? They're incredibly self-aware. We don't need to go in that. The first line was invisible. Butch makes the switch. They're scoring, right? Eichel was minus an enormous number in the first 3 games and no points. So the series goes 6 games, right? Eichel finishes with 5 points. Okay. He's a point a game again.
Yep.
Right? After going doink, doink, doink.
For the first 3.
For the first 3 and hanging a big minus number.
Yep.
So I believe firmly that the overtime goal in Game 4 freed him up.
Yeah.
It just, okay, this is not nearly, we're overthinking this. We're gripping a little bit tight, right? The better team won. Certainly the better coach. I think he's the MVP of the series.
Well, the decisions that he made over the course of the final 3 games
was everything.
It was the difference in the series,
right?
One of the differences in the series.
I mean, yes, the fact that the top line started producing and that they neutralized Kaprizov, his line. That was the key. But again, that's a direct result of Bruce.
The decision making.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, John Hines packed an incredible 2 wins onto his now.
He's now up to 6.
I think he's up to 6-20.
Something like that.
Right.
In, I think, 9 seasons, he's got 6 playoff wins.
Yeah. So
yet to win a first round series.
So it'd be perfect. Maybe Los Angeles could hire him.
I think aside from Bruce, one of the other differences in the series is when you watch the series, Minnesota didn't have a guy like Nick Waugh. They didn't have a guy like Brandon Saad. They didn't have a guy like Noah Hannafin. They had their superstars, and they had Marco Rossi and Ryan Hartman, and that's it. They didn't get much else. They didn't get a whole lot from Zuccarello.
Got a lot from Foligno.
Well, he was fourth line, right? Fourth line guy. Rossi, Foligno, and Hartman, I think, is their fourth line. I mean, that's pretty decent fourth line. But they got nothing from Freddie Gaudreau. Like, they got nothing from their top players, and then basically just a sprinkling of their other players.
Right.
Like the Golden Knights, Brett Howden, Nick Waugh, Noah Hannafin.
Nick Waugh was great.
He was. I think he was really good. I thought Brandon Saad was really good. I know Dorofeyev only had the 1 goal and he missed Game 6, but he was very noticeable early on in Game 5. He just kept shooting the puck. Tanner Pearson provided a big assist. Nick Hague made a big play, and Bruce even mentioned Keegan Colasar, the awareness of Colasar in that Game 5 to set up just a simple play. Allowed the team to keep possession of the puck in the offensive zone. Nick Hague wins a battle against the boards. He gets it down to Tanner Pearson, who, we talk about the finish, but the pass by Tanner Pearson, no look, behind the back, below the goal line.
He said he heard Howdy calling for it. I'm sorry, not Howden. From now on, he'll be addressed as Bretsky.
Bretsky.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I asked Tanner Pearson because this is a team, and Bruce had mentioned they've got a lot of champions in the locker room, and he's right. Majority of the team have won at least one Stanley Cup. But they bring in two guys in the regular, well, they bring in one guy in September for a PTO in Tanner Pearson, and they pick up a guy mid-season in Brandon Saad, who have also won Stanley Cups in other places. And I asked Pearson, what that's like when you're a guy who comes in to a locker room that's already won when you've won, and he kind of joked. It was one of the first times we've seen him kind of joke and laugh a little bit with us.
Loosen up a little, yeah.
And he was like, well, when I won, I was that young guy who a lot of the older players were kind of taken under their wing and helping. Now I'm that guy who's won, and I'm the older guy in the room, and I'm helping some of the younger guys who haven't won. So it was kind of cool to see. But I mean, that's the amazing thing, right? Bruce can pull Victor Olofsson, bench him, and bring in Tanner Pearson, and Tanner Pearson provides a spark, makes a big play. That's why the Golden Knights are still playing hockey, because Bruce Cassidy had that luxury, and because he's just a better coach than John Hines.
Let's move on to you want to do the results from the first round, or you want to just get into previews?
Let's do some results. Yeah, we could.
All right, so
because I have a bold prediction following one of the results.
Okay, well, the long and the short of it is I'm leading the competition. I had 5 out of 8. You had 4 out of 8. You missed on the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Montreal Canadiens. We both missed on the Avalanche and the Kings.
Yeah.
So I'm 5 out of 8. You're 4 out of 8. I don't want to really recap the series. Let's just sort of move on to the previews and the predictions.
Well, I think what we could talk about in the series is Ottawa showed up. They were just, I think, outgunned. I think at the end of the day, the inexperience, but they showed up to play. So good on them. Montreal showed up to play. Again, they lost to a better team. That Tom Wilson hit completely changed the series, but kudos to them. They're going to be good for the foreseeable future. The Devils, injuries probably cost them, but they weren't winning that series.
The Devils, you just get they weren't going to win the series probably unless they were completely 1,000% healthy.
Yeah,
to even have a puncher's chance.
But they were outmanned by a better team.
So I give them an I.
Incomplete.
Yeah, because you don't really know. Now listen, everybody's got to play by the same rules.
Yeah.
Everybody's got the same potential injury factors and all that, but we don't really know exactly what they are, and we don't care because it's not a New Jersey Devil podcast either.
No, but what I am going to say about the East is there's only one team in the East that can win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and let's.
I don't believe there's. Listen, I think they can, and after watching the Florida Panthers decimate the Tampa Bay Lightning, I mean that series wasn't close. Florida not only kicked the shit out of them on the ice, they beat the hell out of them on the scoreboard. It was a chippy, dirty series. It's kind of what we expected. The Florida Panthers might be the best team in the NHL.
Well,
they're really, really fucking good.
They proved I don't know what you call it when everybody says, can a team switch it on in the playoffs? Right?
I think so.
They finished third in their division. They were fairly laissez-faire through a lot of the regular season.
A lot of injuries.
Right. Chucky got hurt in the Four Nations and didn't really play.
Marchand was hurt when they picked him up.
Right. So, but, we've talked about it. We talk about it a lot. Can the Knights turn it on once the first game of the playoffs? Well, the Knights, it took a few games for them to get started. But before we get to the Florida Maple Leafs thing, let's talk about the Carolina Panthers and the Washington Capitals. This has the makings of a pretty physical, pretty ugly, quite a bit dirty series as well. Frederik Andersen apparently is healthy again. He signed a 1-year extension, which is incredibly surprising for a guy who's as brittle as dry wood.
Yeah, he goes through it.
I mean, you look up injury prone in the hockey dictionary.
The blood clots a few years ago. I mean, that's.
But and Washington did what they needed to do in the first round.
I still don't believe in the Capitals, and yet they're probably. I think they're going to win the series.
Well, we'll get to predictions in a second. I didn't realize how big Washington is.
Yeah.
The guy that just got back, Protas,
Alexei Protas,
6'8".
Yeah, he's a monster. He's like Chara.
I mean, that they are a giant club.
Well, they have the other kid, McMichael, who's good, but I don't think McMichael's nearly that big.
But this styles make fights.
Yeah.
Right? We know exactly what we're going to get from Carolina. Right?
Yeah.
We're going to get every shift, grind,
you better bring it if you're Washington.
Right? But Washington is built for this sort of series. I don't know what. I mean, Logan Thompson had a couple of good games, right?
He got hurt.
He had a game he got hurt. He also had his what we've grown to know as is the occasional bad goal.
Mm-hmm.
If Freddie Anderson is healthy, I probably give a slight edge to the Washington to Carolina in that aspect of it. I don't think this will be an enormously exciting series to watch, but I think it will be competed at the very highest level. And if you like physical, I don't see this being a high-scoring series at all. I think that this is going to be small ice, big bodies, enormous chippiness and physical. But I think Washington gets out of this, but I think it takes all 7 games. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was a major injury or two that would affect it if they go forward. I think that I just don't believe in Carolina. I believe they're really good, but I don't see a way for them to ascend to greatness. I don't see them having a bona fide superstar who can put them on. Listen, Sebastian Aho is a fantastic hockey player, right?
But he's not Ovechkin. He's
Jack
not
Eichel,
Jack
Matthews,
Eichel. Right.
McDavid,
not Kaprizov.
Right. They don't have one guy who can say, "Okay, boys, I'm dragging you into the fight."
Yeah.
Right. And I think that mediocrity is not the word.
No.
That very good team has sort of maxed out on their potential.
Well, it's kind of like when we were talking about the goalies, right? Like Carolina is a good hockey team. They're not at that next level of good that you need to be to make a run to win a Stanley Cup. They've been like that for 6-7 years where they've kind of been good, but they haven't been elite.
Like if you could say what is California on the grading scale, they are a constant B+ A- team.
Yeah, I think,
and they're perfectly consistent being a B+ A- team.
Yeah, but they don't have that A+.
There's no super high ceiling for them.
Yeah, like
and that I think is what the difference. I mean, Ovi can put the team on his back. He's proven that.
I mean, what they are essentially is they are basically the Winnipeg Jets of the Eastern Conference. A good team.
A really good team.
I mean, and I know Winnipeg won the President's Trophy this year, but you look at Winnipeg's history over the last 5-6 years. They went to a Western Conference final, but then they lose. They maybe win a series. They lose. Like, they're not, until Winnipeg proves that they are a Stanley Cup contender, they're also going to be in that B to A- range.
With limitations.
Good hockey team, a couple of fantastic players, the best goalie in the league, but not quite a contender to win a Stanley Cup.
So I've got a hard-fought Washington Capitals victory in 7.
And I think Washington wins as well. I think they win in 6.
6.
I think they win game 6 in Raleigh, which is not the place to play for. Apparently, a lot of people don't like going there for games, but
it's North Carolina.
I mean, but you got the universities there, but not exactly. I think they, believe it or not, I think their arena, I could be wrong on this, but I think they share the arena with North Carolina State basketball.
That says enough.
Yeah.
And then we won't even talk about their owner and his incredible acquisition of Rantanen.
Oh,
but okay, so we have the same side. We have Washington. I've got it going the route. You've got it going in 6. The next series is the Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions. The media is trying to make this the Super Bowl matchup series. I told you I listen to the NHL Network religiously.
Yeah, a lot of Toronto guys.
It's very much a Canadian-based broadcast, and
they so desperately want the Leafs to be good.
Well, let me just make this easy for you. In the words of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Florida is going to stomp a mud hole in him and walk it dry. We'll have to check and see if that's the exact quote. Florida is bigger, meaner, tougher, angrier, better goalie. This is not going to be a series. I've got the Leafs bowing out with a whimper, not a bang, and they'll be lucky to get 6. But Florida, the Stanley Cup champion, Florida Panthers, the 2-time back-to-back Stanley Cup finalist, Florida Panthers, are back. Marchand seems to have integrated himself well into the lineup.
Boy, he's got some history against the Leafs,
and talk about a guy who's bringing an extra chip on his shoulder. I think that Matthew Nyes is probably wired for this kind of series.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know if Willie Nylander is.
No.
I don't know if Mitch Marner is. I don't know if Austin Matthews
John
is.
Tavares.
I would never call an NHL team soft. That's the ultimate insult. But I don't think that they are tough enough to handle what's coming for them in waves. And just they're merciless, right?
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem. Like Tampa had some guys who were like Hagel's a tough guy, and obviously the schmuck who hit.
Yeah, Lilleberg.
Yeah, he's a bit of he thinks he's a tough guy, but I think for all the reasons you kind of laid out, I just don't see Toronto being able to listen. I just talked about how good I think the Panthers are, that they're the only team in the East that has a chance to win the Stanley Cup. I think, like you, I think they're gonna blow through Toronto. The biggest issue I think Toronto has, and it's not something that they could have controlled or in any way their fault, how easily the Panthers went through the Lightning, in that this was a team that was still getting some guys back to health. The fact that series was over in 5, to me, it sends a message that the Panthers aren't fucking around. They wanted to win that series. They wanted to win it early. They wanted to get guys more rest. The only thing I think that could slow the Panthers down is the fact that they've played a lot of hockey over the last 2 years. And when you win series early in the playoffs, that doesn't really become an issue, right? When you go 7 games and then you have like only that 1 or 2 days off, back to 6 or 7 games, the fact that they won it in 5, and that was the latest series to start.
Yeah.
And they've still gotten themselves a pretty good amount of rest before their game 1 against Toronto takes place. I think they're going to win it. I think they probably win in 5 or 6. So I'm going to go with 6. I'll give Toronto 2 games, probably one they don't deserve to win that they may win.
Does home ice factor in your equation?
No, because
does it mean anything?
No, because I think Toronto may win game 1 or 2, but I don't think there's any way they win both games. Both games, the games 1 and 2 are in Toronto. I don't see them winning both games in Toronto. And if they lose game 1, they're in big trouble, because mentally, I don't know if they have the ability to bounce back from that. Saying, "Oh shit! Not only did we lose game 1."
It depends on how they lose game 1.
Well, I think if it's a tough game, they lose in overtime.
Right. If they get boat raced,
if they lose like 5-1, which is not
out of the realm.
Yeah.
Right. If they get boat raced, I think it's big trouble. But if it's
I think it'll be a little closer than that. I think they lose game 1. I think they maybe lose like 4-3, but probably one of those that's not as close as the score indicates.
That series, yes, it will be determined obviously by the score. But if you watch the game tonight and you don't look at the score and you just watch the play, you'll see who's going to win the series.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference, right?
Well, and listen, I mean, you've got 2 coaches who've won Stanley Cups. Paul Maurice and Craig Berube. So coaching wise, I think it's listen, I think Berube's a great coach. So I don't think it's like this mismatch there.
He doesn't Toronto
he doesn't have like Bruce likes to say, once they go over the boards,
Toronto doesn't have enough.
Yeah, I think that's probably it.
I mean, they can score, but
can they stop Florida from scoring?
But Florida has Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
Right?
And listen, I like Stolarz for obvious reasons.
Well, yeah, but
it's now a massive rise up in competition.
Quality of opponent, sure. Yeah. I mean, I can't see a scenario where, I mean, unfortunately, Paul missed the net's going to say Toronto in 6, but I can't see a scenario any way that I look at it that Toronto can win 4 games in this series. They're undermanned and they're out goalied. So the coaches are a push.
Yeah. But
right?
I think top to bottom, Florida's a better team. And I think Florida, like Macho Man Randy, boy, a lot of wrestling references.
Yeah.
Like the Macho Man liked to say back in the 80s when he was talking to Mean Gene Okerlund, the cream rises to the top.
Yeah.
And
it's fairly obvious. Now,
and Florida is the cream of the crop.
And they certainly showed it against Tampa. And
they'll do it against Toronto.
All right, so you got 6, I got 5. I'll take 5. I'll just say it's another boat racing series. Let's move on to the Western Conference. Let's do the series in the order that they finished. So let's go with Dallas and Colorado. I don't know what you say about fucking Dallas. They lose. They lose every game 1. Pete is 9-0 in game 7s, which is just beyond fucking absurd.
Yeah.
Mikko Rantanen gave it to him.
Oh.
Gave it to him dry, no loop. He gave him the sandpaper fucking plunging, right? 11 points in the last 3 games of the series, an NHL record. Never been done.
4-point periods.
Right? And then an empty netter just to get balls deep in them and send them on vacation.
The hat trick in the 3rd period against Colorado in game 7. And my favorite part of that was the guy who
the hat
it was in the air on the way to the ice before he even put it in the net. I love that. That place was, I mean, I guess maybe television is hard to do justice. That sounds like a very, very loud arena when the Dallas Stars are playing well.
Yeah, I think Ashley Weiss has talked about that. She's a Dallas girl.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, that arena gets to be booming.
They were cranking.
But we both picked Colorado. I mean, certainly based on the 0-8, 0-7
down the stretch
and everything like that. I mean, I don't know. What do you say about Pete?
Well, I think what you say is that Pete is the best coach in the NHL who has not won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, so are you more impressed with Dallas or more disappointed in Colorado?
No, I'm way more impressed with Dallas. I don't think Colorado played bad in the series. I just think Dallas elevated when they needed to.
And Colorado couldn't get to that
level.
And
Colorado could not get to that level. Listen, I would not have thought going into the series that Mikko Rantanen would have been the best player in the series. I would have thought 2 guys from Colorado, Makar and McKinnon.
And McKinnon was great. Makar, not as much.
Well, but if you, and stupid me for not even thinking about it, but you look at Pete's history when he was with the Golden Knights, he shut down Nathan McKinnon in a playoff series that year that they played the 56-game season. They played Colorado in the 2nd round. They go to Denver, they lose both games. But you knew in game 2 that Pete had something figured it out. He figured it out, and he shut down Nathan McKinnon the remainder of the series. I remember one of the Denver reporters asked McKinnon after the game, and he was whining about, how awful it was. Well, I think at the end of the day, Pete DeBoer is the guy. The guy's a great hockey coach, and he's a great mind, and he understands something about neutralizing great players. And Colorado had a few, and I thought maybe the bump of Landeskog would kind of
helped them for a minute.
Yeah, they got a boost in 1 period, But at the end of the day, Dallas, without Jason Robertson, without Miro Heiskanen, the fact that they were able to beat Colorado Avalanche in a 7-game series, I mean, I don't know what else you say. It's unbelievably impressive. They are a very, very good team. They've got a lot of superstar players, and they've got some superstar players in the wings because Wyatt Johnston, to me, he's a superstar in the making if he's not already there. And silly Carolina, the fact that you only got and listen, not that Logan Stankoven stinks, but any conversation with Mikko Rantanen would have begun and ended with Wyatt Johnston for me. Even if that's all I would have gotten back, I would have taken that. But that's a team that I think will make a run to the Western Conference Finals. I think they'll beat the Winnipeg Jets.
Well, let's talk about the Winnipeg Jets series.
They needed to find that extra gear.
But did they?
No, they didn't.
Listen, they're the President's Cup. They're the President's Cup winner. Their goalie had a save percentage in the low 800s, and he's the best goalie in the world.
Yeah. They lose Mark Scheifele.
They lose Mark Scheifele.
They lose Josh Morrissey.
They backed through. I mean, listen, God bless them. They played to the final whistle. They got the job done with 2 goals at 6-on-5 in the last 2 minutes. But they played the worst team in the West in the first round, and they backed through the first round. And I don't know how you don't have concerns about Connor Hellebuyck. Everybody said, "Oh, he got the monkey off his fucking back." And he didn't, and neither did they.
No, because he wasn't good in the series.
He wasn't good in the series,
and I don't think they were particularly good.
I think the fact that they got boat raced 3 times on the road. I mean, and not close. I mean, he got pulled in all 3 games,
and they were very close to losing. Game 7 regulation
in their building in that phony
2 seconds
in that phony baloney whiteout horse shit, right?
I happen to like that.
Yeah, well, whatever. Listen. Congratulations, you won a series. So did Toronto. We know what that's proved to be worth.
Yeah,
right.
And,
and it's the same. I apply the same math. So. I mean, congratulations, you won a series. Did you exercise any demons by doing that? Absolutely not. And we're going to find out here. I think it starts Wednesday night.
I've got the schedule here. Yes, they play a 9:30, I'm assuming East Coast time on Wednesday.
So their prize for semi-accidentally dispatching the St. Louis Blues is the Dallas Stars. And here's what we know about Dallas. They lose game 1 all the time.
Yeah.
9 in a row, I think they've lost.
They may not lose game 1 this time.
They might not lose game 1 this time. And listen, I have questions about Jake Ottinger too. I'm still not sold. He hasn't done anything.
He wasn't great in the series.
Right? He wasn't great. So I'll call the goaltending matchup a push of underperforming netminders. How's that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think last night, even though they lost the game, Jordan Binnington was better.
He was better. Not better. They,
like
48 shots.
Yeah,
against,
I mean, and 2 of them were 6-on-5 goals.
Right.
And 1 was a power play goal.
Let's get a word in from my good friend, Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever. So if there's a little bit too much whip in the shaft of your hockey stick and you want to be able to hit the back of the net, here's your answer. But I'm not going to tell you anything about it because I'm going to let my good friend Dr. Pierce tell you exactly what this bad boy is and prepare to be amazed.
This is the Phoenix Pro. This is a home unit to deliver extracorporeal, I call it sound wave therapy. The technical term is shock wave therapy.
Here's where we get to the fun stuff, kids.
Okay? And they applied it to their genitalia, and they found that, yes, indeed, it improves blood flow. When we talk about, male genitalia, what is an erection? It is a blood flow issue. So if you're having issues and you've gone to see your doctor, you've had your testosterone balanced, and you're doing those things, and it's working great. If you're finding that you're using a medication like Viagra, Cialis, something like that, and you're finding less and less effect, that means that the blood flow isn't as good. Something like this can help to mitigate that issue. So let me break this down for you in layman's terms. If your junk is more like a pool noodle than a pool cue, it's going to make your junk hard. Dr. John Pierce, Ageless Forever, www.agelessforever.net. Don't be shy. Send a message. The first consultation is free. You'll meet with Dr. Pierce personally. You'll have the ability to share whatever it is you want to share. This bad boy works. So, something for you to think about. www.agelessforever.net. Send a message, take advantage of the free consultation, and let's get you to be the best you can be.
We were talking about the goalies.
Yeah, listen, you call it a wash between Ottinger and Hellebuck.
Based on their playoff performance, what else can you call it?
Binnington was the better goalie last night between him and Hellebuck. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm with you. I don't think Winnipeg exercised shit.
No.
They were a massive favorite in the series. They got smashed in St. Louis
3 times.
And they scored the tying goal with 2.2 seconds to go in the third period, needing a 6-on-5. It was a great goal. But when I was watching that, I'm like, oh, fuck, they're going to run out of time. And I don't know who it was who made the pass to Perfetti, but Perfetti makes
Lowry, I think.
Was it Lowry who ends
Lowry.
up connecting, who scores the game winner?
Right.
Adam Lowry, born in St. Louis, by the way.
While his dad was playing for the Blues.
Yeah. So, I'm happy for the fans in Winnipeg. It's a suffering fan base. It's not a good place, in terms of attracting free agents. But
I thought you were going to say it's not a good place to live.
No, I'm sure it's fine. I mean, I've been there.
Not
but
in the winter, it's not.
No. And before the game, when I was up there, they showed this video of the white out. And I don't mean the fans in the...
You mean the city?
Yeah, like buses sliding down hills.
Oh, I love
that. Type of stuff.
I love that stuff.
And you hear the wind and you see the snow blowing. And there's a reason I don't live in a place like that. But
yeah,
I think at the end of the day, I think the Dallas Stars are a better team. The question marks with Mark Scheifele, who got annihilated with that hit. I don't know what happened to Morrissey. I know he didn't play in the second and third period.
Yeah, 4 minutes in, he was gone. No reports yet.
Did he get hurt in the Vegas series a couple years ago too?
I don't remember if it was him or Ehlers. Maybe.
Well, I know Ehlers didn't play early.
Could have been.
But I'm pretty sure Morrissey got hurt in one of the games in Vegas, and I don't know if he came back. But surprisingly, I thought the unheralded hero for Winnipeg last night,
Pionk.
Yeah, Neil Pionk. Like, what did he play? Like 40 fucking minutes? I mean, that's Herculean.
Hey, he got the bag. He got $6 million a year.
And they needed every bit of that $6 million from Neil Pionk last night. But Eddie, I think Dallas, they're on a roll. I still think there's a lot of question marks about the Jets. To me, home ice means nothing.
Well,
Pete will not be intimidated.
The big thing is, according to all reports, Dallas is about to get healthy.
Yeah.
Robertson and Heiskanen.
That's not Gabe Landeskog.
No.
That's
everything.
Yes.
For this series, that's everything.
Yeah.
I got a funny feeling this whole episode we're going to probably agree, but Dallas wins this game on their ice in game 6.
I tend to agree. I think Winnipeg will win a game. I think they split at home or games 1 and 2 in Winnipeg. And I just think the cream rises to the top. And I think coaching wise, this is about as big of a mismatch as Bruce Cassidy and John Hines.
I don't know if it's quite that
I don't
big.
care if that guy's going to win the Jack Adams Award.
No, he's not going to win the Jack Adams.
But he's a finalist for it.
Spencer Carberry.
Yeah, I think so. But he's still a finalist.
Yeah.
To me, it's not close. Pete's got the experience. If it gets to game 7, Forget it. You're
even,
done.
Don't even watch it.
And you know, I
ain't getting to 7.
I just think Dallas is a lot like Florida in regards to, and I was really wrong on both of them, but after watching the first rounds, the Stars are a team that knew what they were going to be in the playoffs, and they had the ability to turn the switch on. For them, it was about getting healthy. They didn't care where they finished because they knew that they were going to be playing the Avalanche in the postseason in the first round. To them, it didn't matter if it was home or away in terms of who had the advantage. They're one of those teams. They can flip the switch, and doesn't matter where they finish. They're good.
It's flipped.
Yeah, that switch is on.
It's flipped. So
it's been on since game 2.
So we're both on Dallas?
Or game 1, I mean. They flipped that switch, and yeah, I'm on Dallas in 6.
The next series is the one we're kind of all here for. We're going to do this sort of in 2 segments.
Okay.
We're going to make a prediction, and we're going to talk about how they got there a little bit and then make a prediction.
Okay.
Then we're going to hear from Joe and Boris, and then we're going to preview it to close up.
Okay.
So today is Monday, May the 5th. The Los Angeles Kings have announced that they have mutually agreed with general manager Rob Blake to part ways. I did such a wonderful impression. I should do an entire Los Angeles Kings impression and just lay on the table like a dead body. But unfortunately, it'll go out of focus, and we'll have to get Tyus in here again to fix the cameras. But you know what? Jim Hiller is going to pay with his job.
He's going to be out.
And it was a majestic, like Khaleesi in Game of Thrones, majestic.
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking
fucking
about.
Choke job by the Los Angeles Kings. Inexcusable choke job by the Los Angeles Kings.
They should have won it in at least 4 or 5.
Maybe 5. Right?
I mean, they should have won game 3. They should have won game 4.
They gave an inch, and they got 10 miles taken from them.
Yeah.
And we were all over the Kings, but we forgot that they're the Kings.
It doesn't matter who their coach is. It may as well have been me.
Right. And it's disgusting. Listen, to me, it's great fun and humor because fuck them.
Yeah.
But if you're a Kings fan right now,
you got to be sick.
You got to be embarrassed.
Not only, yeah.
Sick, yes. Embarrassed, disgusted. I mean, get the thesaurus out. We got lots of other words that we can talk about. But the shit show that they provided, and we talked about it on 108 last week, the series was over before we got here, right?
It was over when they lost game 3.
And they went out. They didn't even go out with a bang.
No.
They went out with a whimper.
No fight.
Nothing.
Game 6 game 5 at home.
Lack of testicular fortitude.
And they
translated as no balls.
They laid down.
Yeah.
They got smoked at home in game 5 after blowing a lead and losing in overtime in game 4. You're tied at 2. You're not down 3-1.
Listen, embarrassing.
After that decision to challenge, I think it was apparent that Jim Hiller was out of his element.
Well, then if you that plus how about 8 forwards and 4.5 defensemen for 2 full games?
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, listen, he made some real interesting coaching decisions in game 4.
He said we got to go with the people that I think can get us there, and that is, hey, Rob Blake, you bought shitty groceries and you gave me a shitty fucking menu to play with.
Well,
right?
I don't believe that, because I think that's a talented team. Guys like Byfield, Turcotte, obviously Drew Doughty, Kopitar.
Yeah, but Drew Doughty and Kopitar were in the.
They did nothing.
They were in the first dinosaur movie.
Yeah, but Jurassic Park.
That's the one I couldn't remember. Thanks for bailing me out.
I think there were only fucking 6 of them. But
I've seen
yeah,
none,
they were well. There we are. I haven't seen Game of Thrones, and you haven't seen Jurassic Park.
Okay, but the point is, they are not. I disagree with you completely. The GM puts the groceries in, right? He picks the lineup the coach has to coach. The coach playing 8 forwards and 4.5 defensemen for the better part of the last 2 games indicates he has no faith in the lineup that he was given.
Well,
how do you argue that?
Is that on him?
Who?
Is that on Jim Hiller that he doesn't believe in his players? I mean, is
partially because he has a system and the players that he was provided can't execute the system.
Yeah, but
and the system got them to second place in the division.
Or is it maybe he's just not a good coach?
Well, clearly, his asshole puckered when the pressure was applied to it.
I mean, he listen
instead of being receiving and gracious and taking it, he puckered. And he blew the series. He blew the series.
I think, in this series, I think it was pretty apparent that Chris Knobloch outcoached him.
Who's not a great coach anyway.
Well, he's better than the guy they previously had in Edmonton.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And the guy they previously had before him, maybe.
Probably.
But I think at the end of the day, the Edmonton Oilers found themselves, they were probably, you know what they were probably like? They were probably like that group of bank robbers who showed up and the alarm didn't go off.
Yeah, the vault door was open.
Yeah.
They were opportunistic.
Yeah.
That's all they were.
And
but the fact that they had the opportunity to be opportunistic means that they were given the opportunity by an inferior team, by an inferior coach, by an inferior organization that hasn't won a playoff series in about 8 years.
Yeah.
And we're guilty because we fucking drank the Kool-Aid and said, they're going to smash Edmonton this year.
We fell into this year is different.
This is the year. Well, guess what? It's not, and they're not.
Yeah.
Listen, but how much of it is an indictment on them, and how much of it is, here comes Edmonton?
No, I don't think it's, here comes Edmonton.
Okay.
I think it's, look, here comes Edmonton. I don't think it's, here comes Edmonton. I think Edmonton is who they are. They're, at the end of the day, they're Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and they get contributions from
Nugent Hopkins,
Hyman. Kane had the big goal in Game 3.
He did.
I think Bouchard probably is in the conversation above the role players because I think he's more than a role player.
Yeah,
but
he's one of the better offensive defensemen for sure.
But I think this is a team that, as you mentioned, if you're opportunistic,
it's good.
It's good. That doesn't mean you are a good team. Listen, I think Calvin Pickard came in for Stuart Skinner and he was better. He's going to start the series.
But
I don't think he's, we're not talking about.
Calvin Pickard was the beneficiary of the boost that they got from LA.
Right. He didn't do anything special.
Right. I mean, he had okay games.
Yeah, he didn't lose them the series.
He didn't lose them the series.
Which
came in cold, didn't lose them the series.
Which I think if you're Edmonton, that's kind of what you want. Don't lose the series for us.
But that ain't enough. So, let's take a break. Let's get a word in from Joe Riccio and Boris over at Marathon. Then we'll do a prediction right off the top and then break down the series between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers, which begins tomorrow night, 6:30, puck drop at the Fortress. We'll be right back.
I'm here with Joe Riccio from Marathon Law Group. And Joe, sometimes when couples go through divorce, one of the partners will deprive the other partner of visitation with their children. Obviously, this is never a good situation for anybody. So what steps can someone take to maybe deal with this type of issue if it arises?
Well, thanks, Chris. One of the most important things you can do is make sure that you have a court order. And in the state of Nevada, over the last several years, the Nevada legislature has moved towards involving both parents and finding it best for children to be involved, or parents be involved with both children equally, both on the legal custody and the physical custody side of things. So if you're being denied time or deprived time, whether it's in a court order or not, you definitely want to take measures to prove or at least show the court that you've been making those overt efforts and that the other side has been depriving you.
So maybe like keeping a calendar or something like that and marking when you have visitation with the child, maybe marking when you should, and if you don't get visitation on that particular day.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only could you keep a calendar log, but there's applications that the parties can get into without the court for free that allow them to communicate that the court can look at when that time is right. And then there's other mechanisms that you can engage in as well, such as text messaging and emailing and making sure you're keeping those records.
All right, we're back.
All right.
Just a prediction. You want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
Go.
Vegas in 6.
God damn it. Sorry, folks. We were hoping for a whole bunch of drama and different opinions about this, but I'm going to go with Vegas in 6 as well. Let's break down the series. I have a personal note.
Okay.
I was just thinking about this. Did you see what Connor McDickboy said?
No. What do you say?
We remember.
Oh.
Hey, Connor. We remember too. We kicked your ass. How about that?
Yeah. I don't care.
We remember.
I don't care what he remembers.
He should remember getting his ass kicked.
You know, I think this Vegas team
Let's go back to front and then do coaches at the end. So let's go with the goaltending matchup. We're going to try and do this like a professional preview.
I think Aiden Hill is better than whoever Edmonton throws. I don't give a shit who they play.
Unless they bring back Grant Fuhr.
Yeah.
The Golden Knights have a distinct advantage in net.
Yes.
Okay. Defense. The word came today that Matthias Ekholm will not play in this series.
Oh, that's a big loss.
Right?
Because
they said if they get through to the next series, he's possible for the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
But according to the network this morning, and it wasn't Elliot Friedman, so it's not like set in stone, but we believe that Ekholm will not play this series. So defense, 1-8. I don't think there's much of a question.
Yeah, I think that Ekholm loss is
huge.
It's a massive loss because he's a big physical guy who has the ability to chip in a little bit from time to time. I think Darnell Nurse stinks. John Klingberg I like, but he's old. He's I think 36 or he's up there in years.
He had a nice. I mean, considering he was on the shelf for so long, he's been okay. But listen, they're not going to be able to roll 3D pairs.
No. I mean, look,
right?
they're playing a kid in Emberson.
Right.
Brett Kulak is just a guy. Jake Wallman, he's got a big shot, but he's not anything special. Like I said, I like Klingberg, but I think he's like 75 years old.
Yeah, he was in that Jurassic Park movie with Dowdy and the other guy.
The only guy on their defensive front who scares me is Bouchard,
and he's the worst defenseman in the game.
But he's got an unbelievable shot.
Yes, he does.
When they're on the power play and he winds up, there's always a chance it's going to end up in the back of the net,
which is fantastic because which team was the least penalized team in the NHL this year?
Yeah, Golden Knights.
Okay, we said when we were talking about the Kings series, one of the keys to the series is the Kings staying out of the box.
Yeah,
right. Didn't stay out of the box. Edmonton power play. The rest we covered in the last segment. But defensively,
Golden Knights have a clear advantage.
Edmonton doesn't have a shutdown defenseman.
No. Vegas has a couple. Yeah.
2 or 3. Right?
Yeah.
It's really not even close.
I think if Zach Whitecloud and Nick Hager are 5 and 6 for Vegas, I think they're probably 3 and 4 for Edmonton.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So you could completely eliminate a whole pair for Vegas, and I still think their top 4 are better than Edmonton's top 4.
You could put in Hutton and Korzak as 5-6, and it would be a push with Edmonton's 5-6.
I think that's where we're at. So I think there's a very clear advantage for Vegas on the blue line.
So I was talking to my good friend Dr. John Pierce, who we talk about every single episode, and I was talking to him about how top heavy the Oilers lineup is up front.
Yeah.
And he said that they're like a bodybuilder in a wheelchair. They don't work out their legs. So you know what? They are top heavy. They have the best player in the world, Connor McDick.
Maybe top 2 players in the world.
2 in the top 5.
Dreisaitl's really fucking. Draisaitl might be
2 in the top 5.
He may win the Hart Trophy.
Okay.
I mean, that's impressive.
But 1 through 12, and here's what we know, right? We learned a very, very valuable lesson in games 5 and 6 with the Golden Knights against the Wild.
Bruce has a 13.
If Bruce decides that he wants to play true zero, neutralize, because here's what we know. McDavid and Draisaitl will start out on different lines.
Mm-hmm.
When they start to panic or they get down a goal, they'll put them on a line. It'll be McDick Boy, Draisaitl, and Corey Perry.
Yeah, which is kind of a strange.
Right, another Jurassic Park stuff.
Yeah.
So when that comes to fruition, and it will, Bruce, if he chooses to match lines, could put out Eichel, Stone, Carlson, right?
Yeah, but they don't chase matchups.
So they don't normally chase matchups. They did a little bit in Minnesota.
Well, they kind of got into a situation where they had to.
Okay. So I look at this series fairly simply. If they go with McDavid, Draisaitl, Corey Perry, and Bruce decides to play Eichel, Stone, Carlson, that's going to be a wash.
Yeah.
Because Eichel, Stone, Carlson can score, but they can defend.
Then you're looking at lines 2, 3, 4.
So let's look at the down lineup, forwards 4 through 12. I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever that the Golden Knights are deeper and have more people who can score.
No, I think I like Edmonton's second line. Listen, Evander Kane, say what you like about him. He's still he can still beat you from time to time.
And he's fresh.
And he's physical.
And he's fresh.
Yeah, fresh is important. Nugent Hopkins and Hyman, those 2 guys benefit when they play up.
Right. When they've got to stand alone, they don't produce
they're
as much
not,
as when they're with Daddy.
They're not 50-goal scorers.
Right.
When they're not playing with McDavid.
Right. So
I think when you look at the second line of the Golden Knights, assuming Dorofeyev, who was listed as day-to-day, is healthy, Hurdle, I think that pair is better than the pair of Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. And I think whoever Bruce puts on the wing, it's probably a wash at the least with Kane.
Okay. Third line.
Vegas, distinct advantage.
Fourth line.
Very distinct advantage for Vegas.
Right? I mean, these series, without having a lot of emotion and not being, homers about this, can Edmonton win the series? Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in order to win the series, Calvin Pickard is going to have to be Grant Fuhr. Right.
And listen, if you see Stuart Skinner in the series, that's not a good sign for Edmonton. That means it's not going well.
Start making your travel plans for the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
But I don't see a reason that the Golden Knights don't win this series. Yes, injuries are the great intangible. One injury can certainly sway the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? Can McDavid and Draisaitl carry a team through? Well, they certainly can. We've seen that in the past, but we've also seen Bruce Cassidy and our D coach plan for that. They know what's coming. Right now, everybody's standing naked looking at each other. There's no more unknowns.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more surprises. Nobody's coming up with a new scheme or a new attack plan, right? It's all out there. They've seen each other 4 times. Edmonton won 3 games in the regular season. I don't give one flying fuck.
Yeah, to me, that doesn't matter.
That's irrelevant, right? What's relevant is how they do in the playoffs. Sorry, Connor, you remember? So do we. This series isn't a mismatch by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I think it's a good series.
I think it's going to be a very, very good series. If Vegas can prevent it from becoming an all-out track meet, I think they win the series comfortably in 6.
Kind of like they did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think
I don't think anything is significantly different than 2 years ago.
Like I think their top line, I think the top 2 lines are fairly even. Like
Yeah.
I think it's pretty close. Where Vegas has a distinct advantage is lines 3 and 4. I mean, individually,
But if they don't play McDavid and
Well, that
Draisaitl,
probably means things are going well.
that means that things are going well. But I don't think that if they separate them, things will go well.
No,
because I think then
that
Vegas
kind of
has
hurts
three.
the second line.
I think Vegas probably has three better lines
Yeah.
if they separate them,
But
even
like
with Draisaitl on the second line.
I mean, to me, they're bottom six. There's nothing special. It doesn't stand out. I mean, Connor Brown scored a couple big goals for them in the LA series. I don't know if he'll be a factor in this one. Adam Henrique, he's again will keep the theme Jurassic Park. Trent Frederick, a guy we both like.
Yeah.
But I don't think
think he's healthy.
I don't think he's the difference maker. I think he fits with a team like Vegas. I don't think he's a difference maker for Edmonton. Matthias Janmark, decent player.
Friend of the Golden Knights.
Yeah, but nothing spectacular.
Not a needle mover.
Victor Arvidsson hasn't been good in years, going back to Nashville. And then Podkolzin. I mean,
Whatever.
he's just a guy.
I'll take Kolasar, Wasad, Bretsky. See, I'm getting used to calling him Bretsky.
Yeah, it's good.
Right? It's good. Solid.
Yeah. Thanks to Keegan Kolasar.
Is that who?
That's who put it in the
in the vernacular?
Yes. Yeah.
Right, because Carlson used it seamlessly in the post game.
Yeah, Kolasar was the guy. He was on with Darren and Ryan, and he kind of dropped it after Howden scored, I think, his 20th goal of the year. He's like, yeah, we kind of joke with Bretsky. I'm like, Bretsky, huh?
That's a shirt.
Yeah.
But when it comes right down to it, the intangibles, home ice might mean something this time, but I don't really think it'll mean a lot.
No.
We can win in their barn.
And they can come down here and win.
They can win in our barn. It's going to be redundant, but the difference in this series might come down to what's behind the bench. It might come down to Bruce has the ability to adapt, and Knobloch doesn't have the pieces to adapt.
Yeah, I think that's probably why Vegas has an advantage in the series. I think.
Can you pull up the odds? Who I don't even.
They were Vegas was
slight.
No, they were the dogs. They were they were plus, I think, 120.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that number.
Yeah, that was the other day. I was on Friday at FanDuel,
Okay.
where I saw those odds. So it was basically a pick 'em, which surprised me. I thought Vegas would be favored in the series, but I think I have a hard time picking Edmonton just because I think if Vegas figures out a way like they did 2 years ago to slow down those two superstar players, I just don't think Edmonton has enough behind them to
Like
overcompensate
like
for
a bodybuilder who can't work on his legs.
Yeah, and when you have two guys who are going to basically eat up $30 million in cap space, you're kind of limited. And then you throw Nurse in there, you're kind of limited in terms of what you can pay
Anybody.
those bottom six guys and who you can come in to play bottom 6 minutes for you. I mean, you're not going to get a guy who's a great player who's like, yeah, I'm going to go live in Edmonton and pay high taxes and make less money
to play with McDavid.
Yeah, when I'm not going to play with McDavid, I'm going to play on the fourth line.
Right.
Like that's not a thing. Nobody wants to be relegated. If you're a second line guy in Ottawa, you don't want to go play fourth line minutes in Edmonton just because you get to play with McDavid. I just think those two guys may do their thing.
They might.
They very well could. And Vegas could lose a series.
I don't think that they can do it over a long enough time, meaning not minutes, games.
Yeah, I think that's
I don't think they can I don't think that they can run the table for 5, 6, 7 games.
And
eventually Bruce is going to keep tinkering and keep tinkering and keep tinkering. And if they stay out of the penalty box, that neutralizes arguably Edmonton's biggest weapon, right?
Yeah.
And again, we both cover the Vegas Golden Knights, but we can be impartial hockey fans. This series is set up for Vegas to win.
I think the way it is, yeah. I mean, I think when I look back at why Vegas lost to Dallas last year, they lost because Dallas had really good depth. And the Golden Knights were nursing some injuries coming into the playoffs. And I just don't think they were able to find that extra gear that they needed to beat a great team like the Dallas Stars. Well, Vegas got their shit together against the Wild. And even though
they had a little adversity.
Yeah, but that's it. And Edmonton had the adversity too. They were down 2-0. They probably should have lost game 3. But I think for Vegas, they've proven that they can turn it on. And listen, Edmonton, pretty much the same team, was down. Well, I think the loss of Broberg and Holloway
hurt.
I think it hurts a lot.
Hurt.
Because those are two guys who were able to contribute. Holloway was really good for them in the playoffs last year. I think at the end of the day, Vegas wins the series primarily because I think there's a coaching advantage, and I just think they have the depth advantage. And that's not to say that McDavid and Draisaitl can't carry Edmonton through the series and win it for them. They absolutely have that capability. But until I see Vegas lose a series because two guys beat them,
yeah, that doesn't seem logical.
Yeah.
So to bundle it up, we both have Washington beating Carolina.
Yep.
We both have Florida beating the Maple Leafs. We both have Dallas beating Winnipeg. And we both have Vegas beating Edmonton. Who do you guys got out there? Put it in the comments. Let us know what you think. Are we out of our mind thinking what we think? Wouldn't be the first time we were out of our mind. So that's going to wrap up episode 109. My name is Eddie Rivkin. That's Chris Chapman over there from Fox Sports Vegas and the Vegas Golden Knights pre- and post-game show. Always want to thank our sponsors, the Las Vegas Advisor at lasvegasadvisor.com, my good friend Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net, and Joe Riccio and Boris at marathonlawgroup.com. I'm tired. We did this at 9:45 in the morning. I need to go take a nap. Therefore, episode 109 is in the books. We'll be back again next week with updates. See you later, folks.